This tutorial will show you how to take a discarded book page and make a mixed media blackout poem. If you love learning about art, hit the subscribe button. After you find a discarded book that is out of circulation, you are going to rip out a page. And don't worry, I did this off camera in case you're offended by me ripping up a book. Then read through it and pick out words and phrases that stand out to you. This one was all about Snow White, so it gave me some really good imagery to work with. One of the main phrases that I circled was a poisoned apple. So that gave me a really great starting point for an area of emphasis. So I'm going to draw the infamous Snow White poisoned apple. And then once I have that mapped out, I'm going to do the opposite of blacking out. I'm going to use white paint to kind of cover up the areas that I don't want to show up. Make sure you paint carefully. I was in a rush and I cut off some of my words. I will show you a solution for that later, but just be wary. Then I'm going to, once the acrylic paint is dry, I'm going to use watercolor because it's so easy to come by, it's so user-friendly, and it fills up a page very quickly. It's not meant to be painted on, of course, right? A book page is meant to be read, so you might have your page wrinkle up a little bit, but it was nothing crazy. The other thing I really love about using watercolor in this mixed media artwork is that you can see some of the words through it. So it's a really fun way to balance out highlighting your poem, covering up or blocking out words you don't want visible at all, and then capturing some of them, and it gives a really nice mixed media kind of text approach, like there is words coming through your painting. I'm going to go back through with a darker green to give my apple some nice depth and dimension, and I am looking at an image as I paint. And I'm going to do the same thing with black, and this is where I'm really going to start to create contrast. The black paint here cuts through, and it does have a little bit more of an opaque look, so you could use the black paint to cover up your words too. The beauty of doing this blackout poetry is you can use any materials at all. I've done this before just with the Sharpie. You could do this with charcoal, colored pencils, oil pastel. You could do a whole acrylic painting. The options are endless, and the connection to writing, to poetry, you could even do stream of consciousness writing. It's just a really fun art form. You're combining two concepts into one. I think I'm almost done with the first step of watercolor painting. So I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to take an eraser and just erase some of those stray marks I made when I was creating my poem. I'm going to try another mixed media approach. I have these really fun stencils, and I'm going to use colored pencils in the same color scheme just to give the background a little bit of texture. So I'm keeping my color scheme very simple: red, green, and black. And these are just some stencils that you could use with crayons if you wanted. I bet they'd work with oil pastels. And it's just giving a little bit of texture and a little bit of visual interest to the background. I do plan on going back and using more watercolor. I just love watercolor because it's a great unifier. The washes of color, you can decide how dark, you can decide how light, and then you can blend your colors together, really paying attention to highlighting your words. So I want to do a drip, but you can see I dripped right over my poem. So I'm going to simulate a drip with my painting so I have a little bit more control. Drip painting is fun, but it can be a little chaotic, and I've already made a mess of my words as it is. So now that that's dry, go back, and I've actually never done this before. I'm going to rewrite my words with Sharpie. That's not preferred for me. I wish that I would have just done a better job not painting over them. But once I've done it, it really does create emphasis, and the nice black really pops against the page. And so I'm going to echo that with some black paint around the edges. From this point on, the whole thing I want to do, I have my visual, I have my poem, so I'm just trying to highlight and create areas of emphasis and really kind of make the poem stand out against the background. That's the beauty of this type of artwork is, yes, it's very visual, but also you are creating a poem. So if you don't know where to start, I would suggest maybe keeping it simple and doing a haiku. That's a really easy poem, and you can find words on a page that fit those parameters. And I always like to say that sometimes the most creativity comes from limitations. So if you feel limited, sure, you could try another page. But sometimes when you really push yourself and you give yourself limits, that's when the human brain can come up with the most creative options. I'm going to go in with red here. It looks a little gory, but I'm just echoing my apple. And, you know, the poem is a little bit about a poison apple, so I'm okay with it being a little bit on the Halloween-y side. I'm going to speed things up here, and I'm just playing around with what areas I want to be green, which areas I want to be red, and playing around with those drips and those areas of dark. I really love how the black fades into the apple. I'm going to put another layer on my drips here so that they stand out, and I'm going to do the same with the red to highlight those areas. At this point, it's all about highlighting and emphasizing the areas that I've created. I'm thinking a good way to create emphasis in these drips up here is to apply a little bit of red. Red and green are complementary colors too, so that's a fun twist. And then that red just really brings the drips to life. It gives it some nice detail and it echoes the drips of the apple itself. I'm going to add a few layers of red on the apple so that it really pops back in the eyes and the areas that I first painted. And then I'll do the same with the green just to make sure that the apple stands out and is the area of emphasis. It's not only the visual focal point, it's kind of the focal point of the poem that I've created as well. Going back to black to make sure I have nice darkness, and I'm feeling like I'm almost done with this mixed media Blackout poem. And now for a dramatic reading of my poem. The woman slowly turned. A moment, a very long time. A large skull, a tiny gasp, a poisoned apple. We should ask her where the coffin is. Thank you so much for sticking around and making art with me. And if you're interested in more tutorials, check these out. Find my website, thatartteacher.com, for all of my free resources for the classroom and for making art at home.